Beyblade VForce Super Tournament Battle is a GameCube game released in North America in 2003. With an IGN score of 2.5 out of 10, it really makes you feel like a Beyblade. It's a fairly simple game based off the toys in the cartoon, which tries to emulate a Beyblade battle in a console game. Keyword tries. Despite the wonky controls and poor reviews, I chose to speedrun this game after my cousin jokingly suggested it because he remembered playing it as a kid. And well, the speedrun's pretty short. There are 4 categories for the game, but I chose to run the most popular and main category, which is Tournament Any %. In this category, you face off against characters from the show in a 7-round one-on-one tournament. I chose to run this on emulator as it looks better to the viewer and is a little bit more competitive, with the world record being a 9-minute 28-second run by Joe94. All that being said, this is the story of how I learned to speedrun Beyblade VForce Super Tournament Battle in 30 days. We interrupt our programming with an important message. If you like my content and want to interact with me or watch my live attempts for these videos, follow me at twitch.tv/halt with 5 underscores. If you want live updates on when I'm live or want to interact with me, such as suggesting games you'd like me to run, follow me on Twitter and join my Discord channel. The links for all these can be found below in the description of the video. We now return to our regularly scheduled programming. Next, it's time to go over some game mechanics. This game has 6 game modes, in which you can battle it out in a 4-player battle royale, team play, a 10-game battle, free play, or the tournament run. In each of these, you play the same game with different rules or different number of players and duke it out in a stadium to see whose Beyblade is the last spinning. In the tournament run, you play as a generic protagonist in a 7-round tournament that has 3 preliminary rounds, 2 national championship rounds, a semifinals, and the grand finals. Here, you face off against characters from the show in random order in order to become the champion. The stage selection, character selection, and Beyblade selection of the opponents is slightly randomized within some magnitude of order, so each run is somewhat unique. In order to win a battle, you must get 4 points. You get 1 point if the opponent's Beyblade stops spinning first. You get 2 points if you knock your opponent's Beyblade out of the stadium. And you get 4 points in a crash out if you get the opponent's Beyblade's HP to 0. Now, let's take a closer look at what a battle looks like. First, you're in the adjustments phase, where you choose the gimmicks of your Beyblade. You choose the axis, the magnet polarity, and the substitution parts. In the speedrun, we do not upgrade our Beyblade, so we're going to skip over this completely. Just know that the left spin gear parts will make the opponent's Beyblade circle around the ring in reverse, and this is typically in the substitution parts column. The next phase is the launch phase, in which you must time an A press correctly to maximize the spin your Beyblade has in the ring. As long as you press the A button a little before the end, you'll get the maximum spin. Finally, we're in the battle phase. Both bays are launched into the arena and have 3 core values: the spin, legend power, and HP. Like a Sigma male, you gain legend power by making contact with your opponent's bay. This also decreases both bays' HP, but not equally. Depends on the attack and defense stats of your bay and your opponent's bay. Once your legend power meets one of the 3 progress bars, you can use your Bit Beast attack, which launches your bay at the opponents, knocking them back in the opposite direction. The force of this attack scales with the tier of your legend power, and is the main technique used in this speedrun. For this one, we're only going to really use the tier 2 or tier 3 attacks. The tier 1 hits like a wet pool noodle, and even the tier 2 sometimes doesn't knock them out. Lastly, we'll talk about characters, stages, and Beyblades. As far as the Beyblades, you have Dragoon V, Dranzer V, Dracil V, and Drager V. Dragoon spins left, and all the others spin right, and they have different stats. Dragoon is the attack bay with low defense. Dranzer is a par bay for all stats. Dracil is the defense bay, and Drager is another middle of the pack bay with a slight focus on attack. I found that the best beginner bay to use in the tournament run is Dracil because the defense gives you a bit more time in the ring, but once you have the skill, using Dragoon will help save minimal time by having a stronger attack and by coming into contact with bays more often since it spins in the opposite direction. Next is stages. There are 3 stages: the normal stadium, the Magni Stadium, and the ultimate stadium. The Magni Stadium has 3 variations as well, in which the Magni pattern can be random, circle, or danger. I would say that the normal stadium is the easiest, danger Magni is the next easiest, followed by circle Magni, random Magni, and then the dreaded ultimate stadium. Not only is the center of this stadium spinning, which creates a new challenge for lining up angles, but I am convinced that the openings of the stadium are narrower than the other stages. Here I'm going to show some good and bad examples of lineups that would or would not stadium out the opponent's bay on different stages that have trickier hitboxes. First, I'll talk about the hitbox and angles on the Danger Magni stage. As you can see here, with this lineup, the opponent's bay should be shot straight out of the opening. However, because of the magnets on the edge, if we have a lower angle like this, the bay will ricochet downward and stay inside the stadium. Likewise, this can be seen on the opposite side, where we push them up a bit and they ricochet upwards to stay inside. However, if we hit them when the bay is right between the 2 magnets, they will straight shoot out very fast like this. On the ultimate stage, the inner circle will impart some force on the opponent's bay, which will change the direction they are going once hit to go a little upwards. Here you can see the bay under normal circumstances would be shot straight out, but the drag lines shift after leaving the center platform, and its new direction is slightly different. Somewhere, a physics professor is very happy with this. For the characters, here's a tier list I created based on my experience with the game. I put King in the OP tier as his Wilburg 3 is the most overpowered bay, and it can sometimes ignore the magnets on the outskirts of the arena. It's by far the most resilient bay and can ruin plenty of runs. Next, I'd put a few bays in the strong category. In my runs, these are bays that you typically see later in the run, which have some sort of resilience factor as well. Daichi and Ozuma can be run killers as they require a slightly more precise angle. Next is the gimmicky category, which includes all the bays that can spin left. These can be easy on some stages, but annoying on others, and can sometimes make it faster because, like I said before, you'll come into contact with them a little bit more. Next is the meh bays. Bays are pretty easy to beat, but have had the edge on me here and there. And finally is the easy tier, which has the bays that are guaranteed ring outs every time. You'll see them a lot in the first couple stages every game. And then there's Kenny, who's in the game, but he's not in the run. I think he runs the shop or something. I'm now going to talk about run patterns that I noticed after 200-ish attempts of the game. I basically noticed that during your 7 rounds, you might find patterns that will keep repeating, and some of them are better or worse for the run, typically. I'll go over the 3 main patterns that I noticed, which is the normal pattern, which you'll see in most of your runs, Ult 3, which comes up here and there, and then the very lucky golden pattern. Most runs will be the normal pattern. In this pattern, you'll see 2 Magni Circle or Magni Danger stages, and the normal stage in some order in the prelims. Next, in the natties, you'll face the ultimate stage, and then Magni Danger. And in the semis, most of the time, you'll see ult stage 2, and then random Magni for the finale. Aside from the ult stages being difficult, I tended to see Daichi or Azuma in natty stage 2. This is where it's going to be important to use those lineups that I showed you before. In ult 3, you'll see Magni Circle, Danger, Normal in the first 2 rounds, and then the ultimate stage in round 3 of the prelims. I hate this pattern because it doesn't track well with the splits, but if you get a good ult stage, it can be nice to get it out of the way early. In this pattern, you'll then see a Magni stage in round 1 of the natties, and most likely random Magni in natty round 2. You'll then see Circle, Danger, or Normal in one of the last 2 stages, and the ultimate stage in the other one. In the white whale of this game, the golden pattern, you start in normal stage, and you'll see random Magni in stage 2. This is a rare pattern where you only have 1 ultimate stage, so it is very desired. Then you'll see a Magni stage in round 3 and 4, and it'll be in the ultimate stage for natty round 2. Here you'll often see Wilburg 03 against King, and then you'll see a Magni stage followed by a normal stage to cap it out. Now, I'd like to go over the trials and tribulations I faced in my time learning to speedrun the game. We start at the first day, where I quickly learned I wasn't going to enjoy speedrunning this game. In my first battle as a Beyblader, I actually won, but looking back, it was an ugly victory. I won by crashing the enemy's bay out, didn't skip any cutscenes, and didn't even attempt to get a ring out. Just an old-fashioned contact sport that'd make your father proud. Unknowingly at the time, I was using the Dragoon Bay, because I thought it'd be the best. It may be the best at attacking, but it spins left, which is opposite to almost all opponent bays, and is not intuitive. In the first part of the run, you must win 3 in a row to advance from the prelims. I struggled to string together even 2 wins. I typically like my first run of a game to be blind to the world record in the strats. I try and set a generous inaugural time of the run with lots of room to improve. I was like a caveman to this game. I was not going to figure out how to advance, and if I did, it might have taken millennia. So I watched the world record run and found that you need to stadium out every single time. Since it's a speedrun, you don't upgrade your bay, so you won't get the chance to crash out many opponents later in the run. I then proceed to get the worst ring outs possible, and in some spots, just sit there not even trying as my brain disconnects for a second. Then I'd get ring out. After this, I get the worst luck possible and get a second round ultimate stage. I since have not gotten this stage at round 2, only on this beginner route. With that, I waved the white flag on day 1 and gave it a try the next day. The next day, I did some offline practice and set save states, just trying to finish the game. I had a bad feeling going forward. After many tries and many failures, on day 3 I get back to the ultimate stage and face off in another battle of attrition. At this point, my strategy for beating the hard levels was just crash out and move on, which takes a lot of attempts. Unfortunately, if you get crashed out, you lose the whole battle and have to try again. So in trying to crash out the opponent's bay, this will happen a lot of times. Through many save states, I eventually recorded my first run without a timer. Next, I restarted and tried to get a legit run without save states. I suffered immensely in my first run as I failed in the prelims and didn't restart the timer. This gave me a 14:29 going into the latter half of the run. I then took about 11 minutes to beat the ultimate stage and got the ultimate stage again with a good run of 2 minutes to finish out the run. With a few annoyances in live split, I timed a 34:13 and took my spot as number 6 on the leaderboards. I then started up another run, and I quickly saved 8 minutes going into the natties by not taking a loss in the prelims. I proceeded to then lose 5 minutes to the ultimate stage, and was bested in the second ultimate stage 5 times, which killed the run. Here's how I felt. Fuck. After finally finishing a run, it was time to improve. The biggest time saves I had were going to be locking down the ultimate stage and only having to play 3 rounds of the prelims. One of these is easy, the other is a complete bitch. In my next stream, I was joined by a cultured Beyblader who taught me a lot about the lore behind VForce and their own experiences with real bays. It was here that I realized I was going to have to put some research into the lore of the game in order to perfect my craft. I certainly could not be a poser. My next steps were going to be pinpointing where I could save time, looking into the techniques used by speedrunners with better times, and trying to analyze what was making me so bad at a simple game. As far as time saves go, the ideal run consists of 7 straight battles where I'd ring out the opponent without spinning out, crashing out, or getting rung out myself. Being very generous with estimates of 2 minutes per round, I could stand to get down to a 14-minute run. In my next PB, I didn't get it perfect, but I trimmed some excess fat off the time. I escaped the prelims without any losses and finished the first ultimate stage by crashing them out, saving 6 minutes and 7 minutes respectively. I proceeded to clutch out ultimate stage 2 with a last minute ring out at 7 HP and got random Magni in the finals, saving a total of 10 minutes and claiming the 5th place spot by 5 minutes with a 24:04. My next challenge was getting good times on the ultimate stage, but I did some research and picked up some necessary info to shorten the times of each split. The thing about doing research on this game is the material is very sparse. After searching day and night for things that could help me improve my run, here's what I found. First, I found this controls page on GameSpot from a post of about 10 years ago, which confirmed the game only has 4 controls in battle. I then looked through a guide page on speedrun.com that teaches you the basics. I watched some very old Let's Plays of the game on YouTube. Then I found a review of the game that gives a little bit more info on how to best use the controls to actually ring out enemy bays. After reviewing each of these materials, watching old world records, and spending a little more time than desired watching gameplay on this game, I arrived at the following conclusions. Drasil is going to be a little easier than Dragoon because the spin's not reversed, and the defense helps when you get in sticky situations. I also learned that you can turn the difficulty down to easy. They do this in most of the runs. It loses 10 seconds, but it puts you in a lot of better situations because the AI try to dodge getting rung out a little less. And somehow I had an epiphany where I realized that the red circles on the Magni maps were magnets, and so they would push your Beyblade in opposite direction of where it hit. I'm not so proud it took me that long to realize that. I also learned that different Beyblades have different max spins, and that's why Drasil, I can get a max spin of 9999, but on Dragoon, I would only be able to get something like 9499. Putting this all together, I started seeing progress. Within a few days, I got my PB down to 20:45, and then a much better time save of 13:44, narrowly missing 4th place by 9 seconds, due to a couple of hiccups after the last ultimate stage. All that was in my way was the ultimate stage. I needed to get better at it, and that took practice. I ran the game over and over and over for the next few days, and had countless runs be botched by the ultimate stage. But it was only a matter of time before I got a new PB. After a couple weeks though, my motivation to run the game was waning. Hoping to finally be done with the game as it was becoming really frustrating, I decided to give it one more day of trying before calling it quits. I got good start after good start, getting messed up by the ultimate stage, but finally, after a few tries, I got out with a 12:21, claiming my spot at 4th place on the leaderboards. I decided I was done. Or was I? During the writing of the script, I took a look at the controls that I mentioned before. It's a 10-year-old GameSpot post, and when I was writing the script I thought, let's talk about how there are only 3 controls in the battle phase. It was here that I noticed that there are 4 controls. It says that by pressing the A button while coming into contact with other bays would help increase your legend power faster in combat. I gathered some clips to test this out. On the left I'm not pressing A, and on the right I am. As you can see, I gain 3 tiers slightly faster when pressing A and hitting the opponent's bay. It's not an exact matchup clip-wise, but I try my best to recreate the matchup, and I think it's pretty accurate. I then decided I might be able to crack at getting 3rd place if I use this effectively and got better at the ultimate stage. For some reason I had a newfound motivation, and I put off speedrunning Diablo 2 another week and devised a plan. I found that Dolphin allows you to slow the speed at which you're playing the game, so I created a save state at the ultimate stage and started at 50% speed, working my way up to full speed. Once I could consistently ring out on 50%, I'd go to 60, and then 70, 80, 90, 100. I finally started being able to consistently finish the ultimate stage, and I had a new goal in sight. The next day, I booted up Dolphin and ran through the ultimate stage a few warm-up times. I then started my first full run of the day, and to my surprise, I breezed through the first ultimate stage with minor setbacks. My time was looking good, and the practice had paid off. I then hit my next snag against Hazuma in the second round of the Natties. This map and character combination, as seen before, is semi-common around this time in the run, and as opposed to the ultimate stage, where you want to hit them out with an angle pointing slightly down for some reason, that doesn't work well against this particular combination, and he narrowly skids by. I lose minimal time, but I'm still on a good pace. Then I lose about 40 seconds, which hurts in the second ultimate stage. I hit the Bit Beast attack slightly late and cost myself big time on this stage, but I still skid ahead of my schedule. My last mistake was in the random Magni stage, in which I hit a poor angle again, but I quickly bounced back and get an 11:04. If I just played those 3 mistakes perfectly, I think I could have escaped with 3rd place. Knowing how close I was to 3rd place made the game consume me. I decided I wanted to stop and finish the script for the video, and then I'd think of some new way I might be able to save time. Each day, I'd play 2 hours, and then after I got too demoralized, I'd give up and say, I'll try again tomorrow. Until I had a great run. I finished my first 2 splits with great time, introducing a risky strategy where I'd only go for 2 points in the Bit Beast attack and hope it was enough to get a ring out. I passed each split with 0 mistakes until I found myself at the 2nd ultimate stage, and I choked out of nervousness. I made just 2 mistakes in the run, and it cost me 50 of the 56 seconds I'd saved up by then. I finished the run by saving 7 seconds from an unrecorded PB, and I threw in the towel with the 10:37. Still 4th place, but it's a hell of a time. A wise man once said that every good thing has a beginning and an end. In the beginning, the Red Sea was parted by Moses and the most wicked Beyblade in the West. In the end, I had finally finished my last attempt at the world record, where I let it rip a grand total of 236 times. Here are some charts I made that plot my progress in the game. As you can see, I was able to gain a new personal best at a relatively linear pace. However, if I was to get a new PB anytime soon, this would quickly be changed, as the number of attempts in between my last PB and now is nearly double. Thinking back on the past month is interesting. I'm proud of the time I achieved, but a bit salty at how close I came at the top 3. But if you asked me during the past month what I thought about the game, here's a summary of what I'd say.
I hate this game. It sucks, dude. It really fucking sucks. Oh, stupid fucking piece of shit level. He just fucking beats my asses, dude, every time. And then he says, hey, you're no Beyblader.
Does it make you sad?
Yeah, it does. He's right. I hate that stage so much because it's just like, oh my god, Felix, I hate this game. I'm glad that one dude that really liked Beyblade never followed me, so he never had to see this shit game again. I hate this game.
I'm about to...
Alright, that's it for this shitty game. Alright, that's it for this shit game.
But if you ask me now, I'd say that despite its bare bones implementation, the game is actually a fun speed game. I had fun crafting ideas on how to save time and learned good practices on how I can learn to speedrun future games. I spent a lot of time finding new strategies while writing the script for this game, but next time I'll be more thorough earlier on in order to speed up my times faster and hopefully become a real competitor in other games that I run. Lastly, I want to impart my final thoughts on the record and the time of this category. I first want to show you my idea on a perfect run. My sum of best is an 8:40, which is 48 seconds better than the current world record. A perfect run is nearly impossible now, but with more thought, could be a real possibility. The biggest time save a run could have is to learn techniques that auto ring out on Magni stages. I had some of these in my runs, but they were all luck. However, I theorize that it could be possible to find a way to do this consistently. The thing is, it could require a different strategy for each stage, opponent, and bay combination, which is probably infeasible. I think the best bet, though, is to use the Dragoon Bay, as it spins opposite of a majority of your opponents, which allows, I think, for a little bit easier way of pushing your opponent's bay towards the magnets and out of the arena. I don't know how much time could be saved, but I honestly think that a sub 8-minute run could possibly be feasible if you employed this tactic on the golden pattern. This would require you getting it 2 times per round though, which would be pretty hard. And I'm not sure that there's a way to do this on the ultimate stage. Though it's probably a pipe dream, sometimes things like this can be found, and in my opinion, this technique would break the game wide open and optimize it to its limits. If you're still here, I hope you enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun putting it together. Till next time.